All right. Welcome to KUTV Rise today. Welcome to KUTV Kenya. We are broadcasting live from our studios here in the vicinity of the capital city of the Republic. It is 7:15 in the morning, the 16th of May, Tuesday, 2023. In Nairobi, Kenya, it's 7:15 in the morning. But if you're watching us from all over the world, anywhere else, please tell us how the time is like over there, and also how is the weather condition. It is a bit warm this morning in Nairobi, so you can be aware that the day is going to be a bit bright, but the weather forecast is also something that I'll be giving to you a bit later on. Tweet us out at KUTV Kenya, at Richard_OKENYE. I'll be able to see your feedback, where you're watching us from as well, and also who you'd like to tune in to the show. I'm grateful to be back here on Biashara Tuesday. Yesterday, or in the past few days, a lot has happened, which we will be going through this morning in the world of politics, business, and also a bit of technology. The axe has fallen on the first of William Ruto's appointees in his most significant stab yet in ways of trying to address corruption scandals and corruption concerns in the Republic. Over at KEMSA, the Ministry of Health, a 4 billion Kenyan shillings scandal is brewing, has already brewed, where now President William Ruto has fired the permanent secretary, or the PS for the public health, that is Dr. Josephine Mburu, and also suspended KEMSA CEO Terry Ramadan, and kicked out the entire board of KEMSA for a 4 billion mosquito net scandal. 4 billion mosquito net supply scandal, which has hit KEMSA, and this is in the wake of the COVID-19 scandal that was already witnessed 2 years ago. We'll be looking at that, as President William Ruto is also now appointing a new, or the 10th governor of the CBK, one Kamau Thuge. Kamau Thuge is now making one of the most recent, or the greatest of the most recent political comebacks, and this is putting him back in pole position with President William Ruto after undergoing a tumultuous period of the past 3 years, where he was a key suspect of the Kimorer Arrow dams, turned into state witness, later on to become political advisor of President William Ruto, and now poised to be the 10th governor of the Central Bank of Kenya, taking up after Patrick Njoroge, whose tenure is supposed to expire next month in June. The first order of business for this new CBK governor is going to have to be to tame the twin problem of runaway inflation and the depreciation of the currency. We're going to have a look at those numbers this morning to see what the Kenyan shilling is trading against the dollar, but that is going to be the first order of business for the new CBK governor. That twin problem of runaway inflation and the depreciation of the currency is something that we've been highlighting here on the show. Speaking of problems, hustlers are now blaming or pointing fingers towards President William Ruto, and this is accusing him of taking back or going back on his word to reduce the cost of living for the normal mwananchi. This follows the recent increase of price of kerosene by 15 Kenyan shillings, and we are expecting that this is going to nearly breach that 200 Kenyan shilling mark if Parliament approves a proposal by President William Ruto to double the value-added tax, VAT, on fuel, in a plan that could make Kenya having one of the highest prices in the region. So nearing 200 Kenyan shillings, according to our analysis here. Super petrol will be retailing at around 196 after addition of that VAT, in case, of course, Parliament does go through with this. In total, the projected collections will be here as well. I'll be giving you those numbers, but dependent on fuel consumption and global prices of oil, the Parliament has to, of course, look at all these issues in the finance bill in doubling of that VAT tax. President William Ruto is as well very passionate about, of course, that 3% house levy, and we'll be looking at this and much more of provisions which are there in the finance bill of 2023, which will be presented before Parliament, expecting approval, of course, by President William Ruto. Joining me this morning for those conversations on politics, finance, and also a bit of technology will be Eric Masharia, a political commentator who's been here on the show before. So it's going to be an exciting time having a look at other developments, but key of them being the finance bill of 2023. What can you expect? What kind of pain do we expect? What taxes are there? And also what new prices of household commodities can you expect as follows the excise duty and also VAT. Later on, I have invited here on the show 2 young people who are entrepreneurs for a platform offering a no-code development for businesses or individuals who might want to set up websites but don't really want to get into the intricate details of developing or coding. How can you do that without any bit of knowledge, and what importance does this have? Alex Omogi is a co-founder and chief operating officer, and also joining him is other co-founder and chief executive officer Brian Otieno, to get to discuss on how exactly they're providing this platform for businesses and individuals who want to create websites but don't want to get into the details of programming and coding. A no-code platform that is there available for you to check out. So that's a conversation you don't want to miss out, even as we look at other matters of technology and also business, and as I said earlier on matters of politics. My name is Richard OKENYE. I'll be the host of this show all the way to 10 in the morning. Tag me on my social handles at Richard_OKENYE. I'll be able to see your feedback if you use the hashtag Biashara Tuesday as well. More conversations will be coming to you. There's now news updates as well from KUTV Rise today. I'll be giving them as we go on with the show, and also updates from your roads. How are the routes looking like? If you're going out to work, tell me if there's traffic that you're experiencing, whatever road you're at, alternative routes that people can use, and also any developments that you observe on those roads. It's important that we also are aware here on Biashara Tuesday. We are streaming on YouTube, KUTV Kenya Live, so if you're going out of the house and you might not have access to your television sets, that's where you can get us, and that link will be provided as well on our Twitter handles. If you check us out, we'll be very happy to hear back from you. Welcome to the show. Let's kick it off. What is happening on those roads? Current information about transport and traffic conditions for the city of Nairobi, and also for other cities as you are providing them to me. Those using Thika Road, you are now being informed that traffic is already building up from Mathare Hospital. There's Akuka Jam hapo KCA. There's a lorry yenye imestall hapo, though inatolewa, according to here Mugwe Simon informing me. Those lorry drivers should be encouraged to stop driving on the main highway when they know their lorries are being poorly maintained. They're causing accidents. So there's an accident over at KCA. If you're heading out of town from Mathare Hospital, there's a build-up of traffic. Thika Road starts from Survey, that is there at KCA, moving very slowly. Good morning, good day, folks. That's information. What's going on Mombasa Road? Saa hii ndio naona malori za Moguka na buses zinapita Kibwezi kuelekea Mombasa. Mwanangu ukiwa safarini, always remember kubeba vibiting hivi, especially usiku, because you don't know where or when you're going to get stuck. Muthoka Tito advising the people who are heading out to Mombasa, looking like there's a traffic update. So beba vibiting, uwezi jua nini itakufanyikia njiani. Traffic regulations and knowledge starts with driving school and qualified but approved instructors who can teach learners the actual law as it stands. What we have is quacks as driving instructors coupled with no driving experience. So that's a complaint on the kind of info or learning going on in those driving schools. Roadworks as you approach Subaru Kenya on Mombasa Road, causing traffic at Mombasa Road. So heavy traffic is stretching 4 kilometers along Mombasa Road between Kibwezi and Kinyambu. Traffic has been caused by an accident between a fighter and a trailer. So if you're on Mombasa Road, the expressway is there for you to avoid this heavy traffic 4 kilometers long along Mombasa Road. Nini usumbua watu wengine kwa highway, ukishatengeneza gari unawacha mawe hapo katikati. So it's a complaint on other road users. The International Space Station overflies Nairobi this morning, the Tuesday, at that was around 5 in the morning. So if you did see it, visibility was around 7 minutes at a maximum height of 56 degrees. If you did see it, please do tell us. The International Space Station was visible today morning in Nairobi at 5:40 a.m. Those are the updates I'm receiving so far. General weather conditions in Nairobi today: thunderstorms with a high of 24 degrees Celsius and a low of 15 degrees Celsius. So if you're going out, be aware of that kind of information. Now, the updates, KUTV Rise Today news updates are coming to you, and then I'll be back with more conversations. Remember, there are guests who are coming through. I'll continuously inform you about that. Don't go far.
You need to look for high quality friends.
I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, you know, Portmore. That's my village.
Kanga tu chini hapo ukinyethia ukikatia mademo akipita.
Sinaweza saa hii nimekuja kukopesa choo.
A loving husband and father.
Nothing is too good for my daughter.
An ambitious businessman with a dark secret. A girl with a whole life in front of her, plunging into a marriage that she did not choose with the wrong man.
I'm not ready to marry Zewa.
But who is the right one? I love Nambi. A rock star, living the dream.
But the babes keep chasing me, I guess so.
It ain't easy being famous, especially with so many glamorous women around. A woman hell-bent on revenge.
He will pay.
Seductive, dangerous. She is a predator. Everybody needs it. Everybody wants it. They will do anything to get it. Love and wealth.
You give me hope.
To Kenya, this is my jam.
I say man na me, I will never give up. Na hata nikisota away. Show me something.
Everybody wanna feel like me.
You is like a river.
Real thing, if I never mama, I wouldn't believe it.
Hear me when I say just like
Technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Tech Innovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
you give me hope.
To Kenya, this is my jam.
I say man na me, I will never give up. Na hata nikisota away. Show me something.
Everybody
need to look for high quality friends.
I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, you know Portmore. That's my village.
Kanga tu chini hapo ukinyedhia ukikatia mademo akipita.
Sina pesa saa hii, nimekuja kukopesa choo.
What's up, fashionistas? Looking for a show that brings you the latest in the world of fashion, glamour, creativity, and style? Fashion Diaries got you started as we explore street fashion, modeling, runways, red carpet events, and so much more.
Catch me, Ashley and Sachi, as we unlock the greatest fashion events. Keep it locked.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
The folks are going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepopa siko kufuko. Pepopa ni idea.
Sazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
We are all seeing the impacts of climate change. In Kenya, for example, the frequency of the floods is becoming more and worse. The amount of people and livestock we are losing.
The level we need to go is the level where the normal mwananchi and also the government stakeholders can uptake these solutions.
Those small acts multiplied by millions of us will help make a difference in the world at the end of the day.
It's just a slight behavior change that we need, and you'll find that it serves us a bit more than you put in, and that's the goal. We want to live a better world than we found, because at the rate we are going, it's dire.
We will secure the planet for future generations.
To the Church O'Clock Show. I'm your host, Esther Becky.
And my name is DJ Terror.
We start you off with a word of prayer and get you started with a live transformational worship experience. And have our minds renewed by the word of God on the word segment.
And not forgetting new music za hii wiki, yani ndakuwa bado nawapatia pale wasanii wamekuwa kiwakali. So make sure manzo tune in because zitakuwa zina flow pia pale mixes kwa wingi, yani zitakuwa zina come through, and pia performance yani from our gospel artist hapa on Gospel Art
from 7 to
10 a.m. only on KUTV.
right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Biashara Tuesday. And in an era marked by uncertainties of global challenges, it's important that we build a resilient food supply chain, which has now become more evident than ever that it's important that we do so. Our esteemed guest this morning, Professor Richard, is here to give us his wealth of knowledge and expertise on this critical subject of building a food resilient nation. How can we do that? What kind of challenges or key challenges are there as of the moment? Issues of climate action as well. How can we be addressing that and be aware of it even as we try and dedicate ourselves towards exploring innovative solutions toward the resilience of the food supply chain. But before I get ahead of myself, let me just introduce my guest of the day, and then we can get to this and much more questions that you can be sending to us over on our social media channels. Welcome to the show, Bona Professor.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Really glad to have you here.
My pleasure, as always.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to always be here.
Right.
Thanks.
You have been having a workshop for the past 2 days. Maybe as you introduce yourself as well, tell us how that is going.
Yes, I am Richard Oduor. I serve Kenyatta University as the Acting Registrar Research, Innovation and Product Development. But my background is in molecular biology and precisely genetic engineering. So we organized a workshop which focuses on building a resilient and safer food supply chain in Kenya. And the intention for having this particular workshop now was because of the fact that we must start talking about food security and food safety. For a long time, the discussion has always been in the quantity of food, but it's becoming more important that we discuss not only the quantity but the quality of that food, and that is where the safety bit comes in.
Okay.
And the discussion therefore must be seen through different lenses that start from the food production itself, through the processes of value chain, food chain, supply chain, up to when it gets to our stomach again.
Okay.
And that's a long chain, value chain, if you start from that point.
Right.
And that is why for us, and the intention for this particular workshop was to discuss two things: the involvement of the modern biotechnology in food production, which some people would call GMO, and then the other bit is around the food contaminations, and particularly mycotoxin.
Right.
There are concerns around food safety, chemicals, pesticides, herbicides. For instance, when people spray pesticides on their, say, sukuma wiki, do they wait for the residues to actually decay before they harvest to take to the market? All those are concerns that are popping up, and therefore Kenyans are becoming more, concerned around how do we ensure that we are not only eating a lot of food, but the food is also safe for human consumption.
All right. I'm definitely sure that, for you to set up, or as the partnership between Kenyatta University and Nebraska, to set up this workshop to discuss resilience and safety of the food supply chain, key challenges have been highlighted there as well. What are some of those that you can tell us that are affecting the current food supply chains in terms of resilience and safety?
Yeah, quite a number. But even before I get to the challenges, Richard, I'm equally surprised that the number of people who have registered for this particular workshop. I didn't expect a bigger number, but before starting, if you have closer to 200 people getting interested in a workshop that you thought was just specific and exclusive to particular people, then that actually caught my attention that probably there is much more need for this area. More discussions around this area than we're currently doing, because the organizers, myself, Kenyatta University, that is, and the University of Nebraska, and then Kenya University Biotechnology Consortium, the tripartite, organizers of this, and it has attracted different organizations. We have regulatory agencies, we have KEBS, we have KEFIS in the house, we have National Biosafety Authority, we have universities, both private and public, we have Ministry of Health, you know, and you put, we have USDA and many other organizations who actually have, you know, that have, you know, submitted their or subscribed their members. And looking at that and the discussions that happened, say, yesterday were largely around the modern biotechnology, GMO precisely. And today the discussions will be on mycotoxin and food contaminations and pesticides, all those things put together. The challenge that we as a country are encountering is that everybody is producing everything. And therefore, when the production process is not overly regulated or it is open to every other person, because Kenya is a small scale, you know, holder, you know, farming system, and therefore we don't have very many large scale farmers where you can actually control a lot more. So every other person, you know, plants whatever little thing that they have, either for their, you know, for their consumption first of all, but the excess finds its way into the market. Once it gets there, it goes viral. It can now go to any other part of the country, and with that, concerns around food safety. You've had people thinking that some foods are being grown within the sewer system, you know, passages, and those are legitimate concerns. So that is worrying, and of course, climate change is not making it any better for us. And all these put together really call for now, you know, governments and regulatory agencies and scientists to start thinking very aggressively. What are the way forwards and what are the strategies that we can put in place to ensure that, one, we feed on people and you know, in the country and beyond, because this is a real challenge.
Right. You've mentioned there, of course, it's important that regulatory frameworks are put in place, and my question then is, how can you do that without that thing you've mentioned there, over-regulation? Ensuring that there's freedom of production, there's also regulation enough to ensure there's safety of this food that's getting to Kenyans.
Yeah, there is usually a balance. The fact is, everybody would want to eat food that is probably not having any chemicals at all. But even as you say so, it's sometimes not plausible, because the insects are here, the pests are here. They would want to still attack your, say, your maize or your cassava, and therefore, when it gets to that point, you start looking for, you know, pesticides. If you are overwhelmed by, say, weeds, then you look for herbicides. If it is probably you realize that your soil is not overly nutritious and lacks, you know, the soil infertility, which is also a big thing in this country, then you start looking for fertilizers. All these are farm inputs that are aimed at ensuring that we get sufficient yield. But in the process of doing that, there must also be regulations, because when you are applying fertilizer or you are applying, say, herbicides, you must, there are procedures, SOPs, standard operating procedures, which must be applied. That you don't, you know, spray your, you know, insecticides or pesticides today, and tomorrow you are already harvesting the leaves of your sukuma wiki and cabbage to take to the market, because then we will be eating the pesticides alongside that. And there are regulations, that there are codex regulations that are manned from KEBS. Of course, there are other organizations that deal with also pesticides, and generally every other person should be their own regulator first of all, before
so
even
consumers
imagining.
have a role to play as well.
Yes, they do. They do themselves, and they know. Some of them know, and this now starts speaking to the originally, you know, this country was very strong in extension workers, because extension workers were people who were trained very well from the Ministry of Agriculture, and they would go, you know, those days they used to have motorbikes. They would, you know, ride into villages, into the farms, and guide farmers. But currently, you know, everybody is for himself, God for us all, meaning that that's an area that I think the government would really want to invest in, to make sure that we get back our extension officers, to let them know at what time do you, and at what point do you actually empower or apply, say, fertilizers, and which combination, because they mean different things to the soil. And that is a critical aspect of things as well.
Right. When you speak about food and have this kind of conversation on a national level, words such as bread basket get thrown around, which means we're looking at large-scale producers or farmers who have yields that can feed a large population of people. Is there a space for small-scale farmers also to contribute to the resilience of the food supply chain?
We have actually, much as we largely large-scale farming, we are talking about real, thousands of 5,000, going to 100,000 acres of, say, just maize or wheat. That is probably can qualify. But most people in Kenya are just middle. They're not large. They're still in the middle. But that, having said that, this half an acre, this 1/8 of an acre that many farmers in Kenya have, is what actually, even in their 1,000 acre, there are also still half an acre within that. So that is what joins together to form actually a large, food basket. We know of particular areas, like in this country, the Rift Valley areas, Kitale, all those are direct, those are food baskets, and we understand. But for this country to be sufficient enough, then the small-scale farmers, who are the majority, must equally be aware of their responsibility and do that which they can do within the smaller chunks of land, the pieces of land that they have. And within that, my advice would be that half an acre that the small-scale farmer is actually farming on needs to still be done within the procedures that are acceptable. It really doesn't matter whether you're a small-scale farmer. If you're abusing pesticide, it doesn't matter, because, and unfortunately, it will get straight away into their families, because they will harvest and come eat within their own household. And at that particular point, then that speaks to the awareness, sensitization, because do they even know in the first place that it is not right to spray and harvest after a day before you allow the decomposition or decadence of the residues themselves. So small-scale farmers have a role. We need to empower them. That is why I think the government is trying to give fertilizers. I know of other counties that are trying also to give seeds, because a seed is also important. You also require seeds that are more improved, because you'll find most farmers, and particularly small-scale farmers, keep harvesting their maize cobs, for instance, keeping that, and the next season they again plant the same, and you realize if that was coming from a hybrid, then they are already shooting themselves on the foot, because that cob that is a hybrid is if you plant the same, it is losing what we call in biotechnology, hybrid vigor, and therefore with the time you will not get yield. And that is why farmers must be taught by extension officers that they need to be buying improved seeds every time.
Right. Yeah. The workshop that's currently happening in Kenyatta University is taking in partnership between Kenyatta University and the University of Nebraska.
Yes, that's right.
And also the
Kenya University Biotechnology Consortium.
Right.
Yes.
Now, with that, it means the conversations that are happening, of course, are on a global scale.
Yes.
And now with the globalization of this food supply chain, conversations such as GMO start arising, right?
Yes.
We've seen that happening in the past, even on a government level, reactions from Kenyans as well. How can we convince Kenyans to embrace GMO, but also at the same time addressing the issue of imported food safety?
That's a very good question, Richard. And my background is genetic engineering. Actually, I make GMO. We, as Kenyatta University, are privileged that we are the only university in East and Central Africa that has Biosafety Level 2 laboratory that is accredited by the National Biosafety Authority to conduct research on GMO. This particular lab was commissioned in 2005. So for the last 18 years, this country, and Kenyatta University in particular, has been making genetically modified foods here. In the country right now, we only have 3 other laboratories that can do that. There is one in Calro, there is one in Ilri, and the latest one is now in Isipe. But the one in Kenyatta University was the first in this country. And that is why anytime there is a discussion around GMOs, it gets back to us because we are the originators of this thing in this country. We and any other university and many university staff members are now being trained in genetic engineering, and anytime they want to do such kind of research, genome editing, genetic transformation, and all these methods that we use, they come to Kenyatta University to do it because that's the only place you can do it, or in Calro, or in Ilri, or in Isipe. Now, over 18 years since the first time when that was happening in this country and in this university, we have developed a number of genetically modified crops that are resilient. Because the question that we ask as genetic engineers is that if there is drought like the one we had recently, you will realize that if you go to those northeastern areas where we had a lot of drought, you will find that there will be other plants that are growing. Say sisal will still grow, but you plant maize, maize will not grow. Then you can become a little innovative and say, then why can't we cross maize and sisal? Probably we can get this resilience that we are finding in sisal in maize. Then we ask you, somebody will tell you, I don't want to eat the thorns from sisal, I don't want the bitterness from sisal, but I really like the fact that it can withstand drought. Then that is where we come in. Now as molecular biologists, we say, naturally you can't cross the two. But through genetic engineering, what we know is that you will realize that probably in the entire sisal, the reason why it's surviving the drought is because if you look at the leaves, it is actually shiny. So it means when the heat comes, it's reflected back. And you might be surprised that the roots could be longer. So it gets water down there. So in genetic engineering, we sequence the entire genome of sisal and only identify 2 genes. One that is responsible for a shiny cuticle and one probably responsible for root elongation. Those are the only 2 genes that we move to maize. So that the leaves of maize are shiny because you don't eat the leaves, do you? Yeah, so that's not a big deal. And the roots, we also don't eat them so that the roots go deeper. Your maize kernel still remains the same. It resists drought, but you have managed to transfer the genes. That is what is called genetic engineering. And that is what actually everybody will be jumping left, right, and center. I'm only using sisal, and it's not like we have done the sisal genes. That is just an example because sisal is what is known here. The thinking here is that if I go in terms of, for instance, when you're eating githeri, you are eating beans and maize, and you are mixing those two because you want beans to give you proteins and maize to give you carbohydrates. If it happens like it does happen and climate is changing, that beans can no longer grow because of a disease that is now affecting beans and it has left maize. How do you then make a genetically modified maize? You go into the genome of the beans and identify the genes that are responsible for the proteins that we naturally still eat, and then move that, the genes into maize and target them to the kernels. Then at that particular point, your maize will be having also the proteins that usually come from bean. Imagine at that particular point, that maize is called genetically modified GMO, and you will refuse it, yet naturally you still eat the DNA in beans. So that is what we keep telling people, that look, what is happening in the genome of anything that is alive, they only have 4 letters. Those 4 letters are the ones that are changing, and because we now sequence and we know what is responsible for what, we are able therefore to identify specifically areas of interest. That is what has happened in the West. The first GMO product was commercialized in 1996, actually almost 30 years now. In Kenya, as we are talking, we are still debating the safety of it. And I dare ask questions usually when I'm given a platform like this, and ask them, at what point did this DNA become toxic? Anytime when you eat beef and ugali, you are eating DNA of of cows together with the DNA of maize, and we never grow horns because we ate beef. What happened to those DNAs? And those are the questions. And I think it is time now for us to break this thing down for people to understand that there's nothing wrong with the DNA. What is important is that the safety process, it means we just need to find out where is the source of the DNA. For instance, if I'm picking a DNA from, say, from a pig, because I like the pork, and probably mix it into cow or whatever, then I must disclose, because a Muslim who has a belief around the pork wouldn't really want to eat the genes from the pigs, and then, and that is a genuine concern.
Right.
And that is why in this country we have an organization called National Biosafety Authority, whose work is just to regulate GMO. First of all, what is it that you are bringing in? And there are 4 regulations that are guiding the functions around GMOs. There is what controls us in the lab. Nothing leaves that lab before it is actually verified. When you take it to the field, before it goes to the field, it has to be verified, because now you are taking it to the environment. And then once it is in the environment, there is also another regulation. Then there is another one, if you want to import food, and it is GMO as well, there is also the transit and importation regulation is existing. And then the last one is on labeling. So there is a rule in this country that any GMO must be labeled, so that you choose for yourself whether you want it or not. But I can tell you, Richard, GMO are the safest, actually, sources of food. I've lived in South Africa, where the GMO was accepted in 1998. I've lived in the US, and that was in 1996. We've lived in the EU, and EU in Britain they keep saying that we are not eating GMO, and they are importing almost 70% of their foods, and then they say it's for animal feed. Then we ask them how, then once the animal has eaten this GMO, are they burnt? What happened? Did the DNA die because the animal ate it? It is a lot of convenience, and African countries have actually played into this madness of actually comparing themselves with the EU, and then thinking, and the wars around EU and the West is a different ball game. We don't want to import a lot of more things because we are protecting our economy. It's never about food. Yes, it's economic interest, and that is what GMO debate is. It has never been about safety. I can tell you, and I want to say this very emphatically, if it is true that the GMO will cause impotence, then why would men go for vasectomy? We just prescribe GMO. And if they say that it causes infertility, where many women are paying money for contraceptives, we just prescribe GMO. Actually, it will be more expensive than what they think it is, because it's now a drug. It is a lie, and it is so sad.
It is a very big misconception.
It is so sad.
And I think it's going to take us some bit of time as Africans to always adapt to this kind of new and emerging trends. Professor, it's 8 in the morning. I think there's a lot I had prepared to speak about technology and innovation around food supply chain. So much that we could speak about, but maybe today we might not have the time.
I will be back.
But before you go, in building a robust and adaptable food supply chain, it's important that we also look at climate crisis and climate action. How can we effectively, especially this being a new conversation for us as Kenyans and Africans at large, even when locusts were appearing, there were questions on whether is this the global warming that you guys are talking about and climate change. There were floods, a very long period of drought and famine. How can we, as we look at creating a secure and sustainable future, also address climate action and food supply chain at the same time?
Yeah, that's a lovely question, Richard. I think as a country, we need to pause for a moment and start evaluating how we have performed against our own national blueprint 2030, and then cascade that to the Agenda 63, and then look at how have we performed as a country against the Sustainable Development Goal, SDGs, because all these blueprints are very critical, and they speak to ensuring that we have a world that is sustainable and that is good enough for the future. My thought is that as a country, really, we need to start investing very strategically, and climate action and climate related debate need to be a debate that is sustained over time, and with deliberate mechanisms on how do we even plan for it. As a country, we should start thinking about even having unique ministries and departments that are focusing on this climate change, because it's big. We are here just recently, crying over locusts. They disappeared. And I can tell you they are just somewhere else within this environment, waiting at the right time. Anytime then we get drought like we had recently, then shortly after there is rain and we can't manage the waters, everything is, the roads are cracking and everything else is happening. And now next time there will be fire, and again another time it will be now, some pandemic, COVID never helped. All these things are happening. From where I sit, I think we need to first of all look at the food supply chain from the production to the end of it, and look at what are the mechanisms that are in between that we need to build that are resilient enough to ensure that we have sustained supply. But at the same time put strategies that are speaking to one thing, climate change. And this means that we must think about how do we intensify a lot more of our production systems. How prepared are we in terms of when the drought comes? What do we do? What do we do as a country? Have we built dams? That's one. Okay, when we harvest food, a lot of food is wasted in this country when we harvest because of the storage mechanism. We store them very clumsily. We get aflatoxin joining in, and then that food that we thought we are saving for the future is now actually the one causing diseases to us. And then how do we empower the people so that they know the SOPs, the procedures for even applying fertilizers, even pesticides, so that we have food that is not only quantity but also quality.
Right. Thank you very much for that. Building a resilient and safer food supply chain in Kenya, which is also a conversation that has been happening in the workshop organized by Kenyatta University and the University of Nebraska, has been happening from yesterday and also culminating to today. Maybe just to lastly speak about the workshop, tell us a little bit about that partnership with the University of Nebraska and also the kind of conversations which are expected to happen.
Yeah, we have, our friends from University of Nebraska-Lincoln. They have been here in this country for now a week, and the workshop is ending tomorrow. The whole idea is that we felt that there was need to build capacity in the country and also create an opportunity for exchange programs, and that is why we never locked it to Kenyatta University alone. All other universities were welcome, and I've seen a number of them starting from USIU, University of Nairobi, Mount Kenya, Karatina, Pwani, all of whom, they are all here to actually get the capacity, built. And we also want an intra within the country networks, because sometimes we go out of the country, yet we also have expertise within just the universities around. So it's an opportunity to build capacity and also to initiate and sustain conversations around food safety and food supply. And yesterday we were talking about GMO largely, and what is the detection of it, how can you know, and what is the safety of it, and all the things and these questions that are coming up. Today we will be dealing with the mycotoxin, pesticides, antibiotics, all these mycotoxin, and we have lined up very good presentations from local experts and also international experts. And I thank really participants for finding time, and Kenya University Biotechnology Consortium, University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and Kenyatta University, and largely the university for giving us the opportunity to host this.
Right. Thank you very much, Professor Richard Oduor, also coordinating that workshop which is ongoing at Kenyatta University. We'd love to have you at another period when we're experiencing maybe fire or gazelles running out of the game parks, and then we can get to have another discussion.
Thank you so much.
All right, going for that short break here on Biashara Tuesday, coming back to radio feedback, and then more conversations are happening. Remember, this is KUTV. Rise today, don't go too far. Resilience and also ensure there's food safety. Thank you for joining us for that conversation with Professor Richard Oduor on how we can enhance and resilience in the food supply chain is something important right now if you're going to get a secure future for our global food. And that conversation will be as well available for you on YouTube, KUTV Kenya later on, if you did miss any bit or if you just want to go over with it. Now, I am switching gears a bit into matters of technology with my guests of the day here. And we are speaking around no-code development. How can people be able to get, or individuals and / businesses, be able to get themselves websites in this digital era without going so much into the details of knowing what coding, how coding works, or how applications are coded and how software is built. So their aim here is to spur economic and business growth by getting rid of barriers that slow down that growth. And all of those barriers include development services, and they're trying to speed up innovation through that low code or no code technology. So if you're a startup, an entrepreneur, an SME, an NGO, a hotel, an individual, a small business, a mama mboga who wants a website, how can you get it in a matter of minutes without waiting for a really long time while you're still following up with your developer? Those two gentlemen are coming through with me here on the show, and it's going to be Alex Omogi, co-founder, Chief Operating Officer over there, and also Brian Otieno, co-founder as well, and the Chief Executive Officer. Send in your questions. I see there's already feedback that's coming in. Fishware on Facebook saying when it's Tuesday, you know it's Biashara Tuesday. Wanjiku Wanjiru, late but wouldn't miss Biashara Tuesday. Keep it coming, and I'll read it when I am right back.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audiovisual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
What's up, fashionistas? Looking for a show that brings you the latest in the world of fashion, glamour, creativity, and style? Fashion Diaries got you sorted as we explore street fashion, modeling, runways, red carpet events, and so much more.
Catch me, Ashley Asachi, as we unlock the greatest fashion events. Keep it locked.
Mitindo ya Kipwani, KUTV, kipindi kinachokuza utamaduni wa Kipwani. Nataka uone moja kwa moja jinsi shamba linavyolindwa huku katika miji kenda.
Nalaya mimera yangu, umumu ndani mwangu muna maembe, muna migazija, muna masere.
Kiapo hiki huwa anaweka kwa madhumuni ya kulinda dhidi ya wezi wasiweze kuingia kuiba mihogo ama maembe yake.
Access to knowledge. Solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more, only on Law Matters.
Badala ya kutafuta kazi, tunaweza kuanzisha miradi yetu ambayo ingetusaidia kubadilisha maisha ya wazazi wetu.
Kwa vijana wenzangu, wengi walio wana kazi, lakini ikiwa sisi wenyewe tutajiamini, tunaweza kujiajiri wenyewe.
Afrika kwa kweli tuna mahitaji ambayo ukiyasuluhisha unaweza kuathiri watu kwenye bara hili
bila uoga. Watu huwa na uzalishaji zaidi, wanajawa na ujasiri, wanakuwa wabunifu na wanakuwa wenye maarifa.
Niliamua kuacha kazi, hata kama sitafanikiwa, nitakuwa nimejaribu, nitakuwa najua haiwezekani.
Hakuna kitu cha ajabu hapa. Kila anayepata ufanisi hufanya kazi usiku na mchana.
Kitu kitakusukuma na kuwezesha kupata maarifa ambayo hukuwa nayo.
Tunajaribu kutengeneza kitu kitakachopita mipaka ya nchi hii.
Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha ulimwengu, anza na nyumbani.
Obesity can lead to self-esteem and depression in children, and it can also put them prone to diseases such as diabetes.
Children don't have time to exercise, like walking to school. It's, you know, you are either jumping in a bus to school or you are going on a boda. There's no walking, very minimal walking. So there's not enough exercise. So children grow up, their lifestyle does not help them to exercise their bodies for health.
Technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Tech Innovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
To the Church O'Clock Show. I'm your host, Esther Becky.
And my name is DJ Terror.
We start you off with a word of prayer and get you started with a live transformational worship experience. And have our minds renewed by the word of God on the word segment.
And not forgetting new music za hii wiki, yani ndakuwa bado nawapatia pale wasanii wamekuwa kiwakali. So make sure manzo umetune in because zitakuwa zina flow pia pale mixes kwa wingi, yani zitakuwa zina come through, and pia performance yani from our gospel artist hapa on Gospel Art
from 7 to
10 a.m. only on KUTV.
seeing the impacts of climate change. In Kenya, for example, the frequency of the floods is becoming more and worse. The amount of people and livestock we're losing.
The level we need to go is the level where the normal mwananchi and also the government stakeholders can uptake these solutions.
Those small acts multiplied by millions of us will help make a difference in the world at the end of the day.
It's just a slight behavior change that we need, and you'll find that it serves us a bit more than you put in, and that's the goal. We want to live a better world than we found, because at the rate we are going, it's dire.
We will secure the planet for future generations.
Shout out to the people of Ruiru, Kenya, represented by Wanjiku Wanjiru, who's late but wouldn't miss Biashara Tuesday for nothing. You're just like me, for real. I wouldn't miss Biashara Tuesday, but thank you for tuning in here as well. We're switching this conversation from agriculture, which we just had with Professor Richard Oduor. They're doing a workshop at Kenyatta University on building resilience on the food supply chain and also safety of our food supply chain as well. Right now, we're going to speak to guys from Dreamfield Spaces, yeah? So Dreamfield Spaces are a low-code or no-code platform that is enabling individuals and businesses to build web applications and software without coding in a matter of minutes. So if you want your website today, you might get it, but it's going to depend on what you guys, on what guys have on set are going to inform me about it. I have with me Alex, as well Brian, and they are co-founders at Dreamfield Spaces, that low-code / no-code platform. Here they are. Welcome to the show, guys. Right. I'll begin with COO before I go to the CEO. Tell us about yourself and your role in the startup, and then we can get back to know what you guys are doing.
Okay. My name is Alex, and I'm the co-founder and COO of Dreamfield Spaces. So basically, I'm in charge of day-to-day operations, making sure everything is running correctly. And yeah, basically, I was a student in KU. I cleared back in 2022. Yeah, I was a mass communication and journalism student from Ruiru. Yeah, graduated in July 2022. Yeah, and I'm a proud KU alumni, and I've been in Chandaria for about 1 year, 5 months. Yeah, so I've been in the environment for a very long time, seeing startups come and go, and that motivated me to also think of, you know what, I can also start my own idea. Yeah.
That's very commendable. Brian, Chief Executive Officer, welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself, your role as well, and maybe a bit of comment with your time at Chandaria.
So I'm a software engineer by profession, and I recently came together with my team here so that we can come up with something that can help the normal individuals, people who don't have the skills in creating applications, be able to achieve this with minimum effort. I haven't been a student for a while right now. I've been in the workforce for around, I think, 7 or 8 years or so. Yeah.
All right. You are both the co-founders of Dreamfield Spaces. First of all, Dreamfield Spaces, I was trying to figure out how that relates to the no-code, low-code platform. What's with the name?
Okay, so we are three. Actually, one of us is not here. He's called Protas Odida. He's the Chief Technical Officer. He's in charge mainly in charge of the technical part of the website. So Dreamfield, when we met with Odida, Odida came up to me with this idea, and he was like, "You see, you're in this environment, and what is the biggest challenges these startups are facing?" And I'm like, the biggest challenge these startups are facing is the lack of the development skills, because when a startup is onboarded at Chandaria, they have to come up with a prototype, an MVP, and to do that, you need a team of developers, or you yourself, who you're coming up with the idea, you need to have those skills to be able to come up with your own MVP or a working prototype. And that can be a challenge, especially to people with no skills, people with no money, because traditional development is expensive, it's time consuming, requires extensive knowledge, and it's a barrier to those who don't have skills. So we saw it as a very huge solution to those startups, entrepreneurs, and anyone in need of the development services. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Give us an overview so far of what you guys have been up to in Dreamfield.
So we are on the onset. So we are actually applying for some funding, and as we do this, we are actually trying to achieve our MVP, which we are supposed to achieve in the next around 2 months or so. Yeah.
Right. There are different low-code/no-code platforms. Maybe we might not mention them because we're not here to mention competition. But how different are you guys from the other platforms?
So the platform is made in such a way that it's so simple for a novice. You don't have to be having technical skills in order to operate it. And also you find that most of these platforms, they majorly provide the front end of the softwares. So when I say front end, I say like it means what the user interacts with and not the back end. So our platform provides both. One can even just make a backend with it and maybe make things called APIs, API endpoints, and then consume the API endpoints from their software if they have another one.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so that's quite intuitive and user friendly. So are you guys also doing low code, no code on your end? Did you build Dreamfield Spaces website on the same platform that you're offering? I don't know if you're getting my flow there.
That's a good question, but no, we did not build them. Yeah, so the advantage we have is our team. The three of us, two of us are very experienced software engineer. One of them is the CTO, Protas Odida, who is an alumni of Moringa School, and also Mr. Brian here, who is also an experienced software engineer. So with such knowledge in our team and such expertise, it became so easy for us to come up with such a platform, because two minds in the same field. Two minds in the same field.
It's quite easy.
Yeah, it's quite easy. Yeah. So, and then another thing, I had you asked what makes us different from other low-code platforms. So, when you look at a low-code platform, basically it has a REST API or an API. It has a UI builder, dashboards and reports, built-in authentication, payments, and third-party integrations. But what makes us different is we have a custom POS system, which makes now our end-user vertical cut across all the industries, from finance to banking to every sector. Because a POS system is basically a system that's used to run any type of business. And also we have our own payment service. It's called Dreamfield Pay. It was supposed to be a feature, but we decided it will be a subsidiary.
I thought you were going to say we decided to be a bug.
No, we cannot compete with equity.
Wow, that's a low blow there.
Yeah.
Okay. Feature or bug, yeah?
Yeah. So the Dreamfield Pay is a subsidiary of that. So that's what makes us different. Because when you even look at the Dreamfield Pay, we're also trying to integrate, we're also trying to be inclusive to everyone, because we have part of the Dreamfield Pay, we have even a flexi payment plan where you get the product up front and then you pay for the product in installment.
Okay.
You're done.
All right.
Yeah.
I love that you've mentioned there the Dreamfield Pay as a different entity from Dreamfield Spaces. But just because we are still on tools and features, what are some of the specific features and tools maybe you can mention to us there on the platform that empowers users to build this for different verticals and industries?
So we have included AI, which will be making auto suggestions for someone who's trying to interact with the system. Also, it offers so much flexibility in such a sense that you are able to produce your own URL from our system directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So you'll be having hosting, everything inclusive inside the system. Yeah.
Is this going to be a cheap offering, or how do you plan it?
We'll interact with the prices when we launch.
What are we expecting now when the MVP comes out?
Well, for the MVP bit of it, we're actually focusing on the web bit of it first, and then later on we shall delve into mobile. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go native after that. Yeah.
All right. But first we have the website up and running. It's already a robust website. When I was taking a look at it, there's so much information that people can get there. But now that you've mentioned AI, we are in that era, yeah? So AI is quite a buzzword at the moment. Offline and online, I think this is the most online spoken thing offline of recent times, yeah? Even my mama Mboga knows about AI at this point, yeah? And it's become really easy to be generating a lot of work, you know, if you take a look at the examples of ChatGPT and Bard, if you take a look at Midjourney and the other image generating platforms like DALL-E, you realize there's that ability now to do a lot with such a very accessible system. If someone wants to get a mock-up of a website, they could just get a prompt description from ChatGPT, feed it to Midjourney, take it back to DALL-E, and maybe get an example of a website. What can you comment about this kind of development happening in the tech space in terms of emerging trends?
So for me, AI, I think AI is something we need to integrate in every aspect of our life, especially business and technology, if we really want to go to the future. Because AI is not something we should be competing with, because if you try and compete with it, if you don't integrate with AI, it will put you out of your job. So AI is something that came to us for us to integrate it in our system and move with it.
Okay.
For the moment, you can't compete with it. It's better than us. It's way advanced than us.
You're playing catch up.
Yes. So the best way to work with AI is to integrate it into our lives and businesses for it to actually do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Brian, as someone who's creating a business, there may be others who are looking at AI as a way of innovation. I have seen there's a lawyer, an AI lawyer. There's a Spotify AI DJ at the moment. You know, just let it play your music and do voices in there between with a human touch, but it's not really human. And I'm sure there are 455 fintechs which are about to come up with innovation around AI. How would you? What word would you give someone who's trying to get into this field through entrepreneurship?
Well, if you feel like the idea is valid, I would just encourage someone to go for it. Besides, at the end of the day, we still need human input in everything. The customization, the human touch is very important. You want to achieve everything through AI, by the way. For instance, if I decide right now to generate maybe a template of a website, maybe it says, let's say HTML and CSS using AI. If I go to ChatGPT and key that in, I'll get this code that I seek. And if I don't know how to translate whatever is written there, I want to be able to proceed with whatever I'm doing. You see,
It's like giving a child sugarcane.
Yeah, exactly.
it's helpful, but there's nothing much they can do with it. So you're saying it's important that we also get the skill, even as he says, we integrate it with a little bit of skill still on the side. Let's talk security for your platform. These are a lot of businesses, a lot of individuals who are going to be accessing it. How is the security around their data?
Okay, we have built-in authentication, which makes data secure in our website with the availability of token options. We ensure that the user's data are secure. In fact, our top-notch priority is to secure the data of the users, because we'll be handling a lot of data, and the most important thing is to make sure the security is on point.
Okay.
So for security and everything, we already have a built-in authentication for that.
Right. When you say tokens, what do you mean by that for a layman?
It's more technical. So
Okay.
I think let the software let's give Brand.
So when you log in, let's say to Gmail, you key in your email address and then your password, and then you send it to the Gmail servers. So the Gmail servers will confirm whether your credentials are correct. If they are correct, they'll send you a token which will be stored in your browser.
Okay.
So this token is what is used to authenticate that you are the valid owner of this space. Yeah.
All right. So that is already something that you guys have thought about for Dreamfield Spaces.
Yeah.
This sounds like a very important thing, especially in this time we're trying to empower small businesses at a very affordable rate. And I'm hoping that, you know, once you launch the MVP, it's going to be affordable.
It's budget friendly.
Yeah, not
pocket friendly.
Not 3%.
Not
levy.
No.
on businesses and households. Yeah. Finally, guys, thank you guys for coming through, of course, and telling us about Dreamfield Spaces, Dreamfield Pay. I thought I had a game for us to play. I'm not sure what my producer has planned. We're still on with that, so that I inform my guests if we can go ahead and play our game of the day. Is that possible? Right. Okay, let me just be preparing them in the meantime as we get it ready for you guys. So
I'll be sort of complex one.
I hope so too, man.
It's too early in the morning. I don't want to jump your mind.
Yeah, but you know, for developers, it should be easy for you. Yeah, you're always up at night. And
not morning though.
Okay, it's an easy game. It's questions around brands or general knowledge, and we are going to get that in a short while. But before we get into those set of questions, I have one very last one for you guys. Chandaria. You have been at Chandaria. That's where you currently are at as a moment. What resources are there available for you guys at Chandaria? And for someone who's at Kenyatta University and wants to also get resources and help and whatever facilities are there available, please do tell us about it.
Okay, for Chandaria, Chandaria provides office space. Chandaria provides internet, electricity, and basically it covers your overhead costs when you start, especially when you don't have money. So from office space to internet to electricity to furniture to everything, and it also provides access to funding opportunities, and helps. Training for those who are new to the entrepreneurship environment, and also networking opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you join Chandaria, Chandaria partners with your startup and takes 10% of your business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once you are up and running.
Once you're up and running, but Chandaria is great because you can buy back your 10%. Once you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's something that you should be thinking about if you want to get help from Chandaria, and also, that 10%, buy it back immediately after, in case you're a $1 billion business and don't want them to take that much. I'll be back to ask you one last one, but now I think it's time for us to have a look at what questions my producers have prepared for us today. So this is how it goes. It's a question. I think there are about 10, if I'm not wrong. I also haven't seen the questions by there, so if I beat you guys at the game. Huh?
You don't have marks.
I'm missing a marks. I am a very straight up student. So we'll mark against each other later. Every question has 10 seconds, so there'll be a timer. If you're at home, you can as well play. I'll read out the questions and then we'll give the answers immediately after. We're ready. Here, let's go. Question number 1. Which Kenyan business produces the most cement in East Africa? Usikopiane bana. Najua mmejipanga. Question number 2. What is the name of the main tea producing region in Kenya? All right. Great. Question number 3. What is the name of the national park in Kenya famous for hosting the yearly migration of wildebeests? All right. Question number 4. What is the second highest mountain in Kenya? Come on. What?
Wow, because of that.
Second highest mountain.
I just guessed though.
Question number 5. Kenya's richest citizen, Vimal Shah. What company does he own?
Very easy.
Oh, very simple.
Very simple.
Okay. Usi Google bana. Oh, you're asking ChatGPT there. Which Kenyan city is known as the Silicon Savannah due to its thriving tech scene? Sinina Rumoru. Ama. Question number 7. Which Kenyan company is the world's biggest producer of tea? Oh. Kenyan. Tea. Whoops. Question number 8. Which Kenyan company is the highest taxpayer? And that's the last question. Leo napata 8 out of 8 unless lecturer ananichukia. All right, there are 8 questions. How do we do this? Pass it. Pass yours to him. All right, great. Let's go. Question number 1. Question number 1 was which Kenyan business produces the most cement in East Africa? Hapa naona Bamburi. Pale kuna nini hapa? Bamburi cement. Na pale limeandika
East Africa cement.
It's Bamburi. It's not East Africa cement. I mean,
it's Bamburi.
Funny moment. So you mark. It's
okay.
It's marking time, bro.
All right.
Wakati wa kumark. Question number 2. What is the name of the main tea producing region in Kenya? Hapa ni Kericho. Right? Kericho. Hii hatuwezi umanje. All right. Question number 3. What is the name of the national park where it's famous for hosting the yearly migration of wildebeests? Masai Mara? No? Yeah? All right. It's Masai Mara right there on the screen as well. Question number 4. Which is the second highest mountain in Kenya? Kumbe Longonot ni mountain. Huyu ameandika Longonot. It's not Longonot. It is. It's Elgon. Nimepata, si ndio?
Amepata.
Hebu mark hapo kama ni
presented well.
Najua nilisoma vizuri. Kenya's richest citizen, Vimal Shah. I thought it's me for a moment. What company does he own? Bidco.
Yeah.
No?
What is Bidco?
It's Bidco. This guy has Dev Group. I don't think it's his. Mark Bidco. Achana na jamaa Dev.
So sorry, sir.
Hakuna remarking. Which Kenyan city is known as the Silicon Savannah due to its thriving tech scene? Nairobi.
Yep.
Huyu ameandika Tatu City.
Is that even a city?
Friend. Lakini iko Nairobi. Mtu asikuchue. Oh, iko na Kiambu. Oops. Sorry, guys of Waititu wanataka kunimaliza. It's Kiambu. Question number 7. Which Kenya company is the world's biggest producer of tea? What is the answer? Hapa I have Kericho Gold.
Ketepa.
There I have Ketepa. Huko ni Finlays. Mark Finlays, my friend. Mark hapo ni Finlays.
You took out of tea.
No,
You must be taking a lot of tea.
not yeah, it's Finlay's. Not, I don't really take a lot of tea. I know them from a recent scandal, unfortunately. The tea scandal over at Rift Valley. Question number 8, the last one. Which Kenyan company is the highest taxpayer? The highest taxpayer is not EABL, my friend.
Oh my God.
So hata mimi niseme unakunywa sana. Since it's
It's early in the morning.
It's Safaricom, man.
It's Safaricom.
Yeah. Safaricom is the highest taxpayer. Hapo watu wamepata pesa ngapi hapo? Here it's 2, 3, 4. It's 5 out of 8. It's a good trial.
Here it's also 5.
5 out of 8. Aye.
You had homeworks.
Aye, my friend. 7 out of 8.
This is premeditated.
7 out of 8 for the host. 5 and 5 for both guests. So
it's 10. If you combine
nimewapiga bana. One man. Na mmekuja collaboration.
It's cool. Next time.
Next time, yeah? You can get them next time. All right. Thank you guys for participating in this round of general knowledge and also for the conversation on Dreamfield Spaces and Dreamfield Pay as well. I wish you all the best, right?
Thank you very much, Mr. Richard, for the opportunity.
Of course.
We appreciate it.
Anytime. I think for just the last thing, let's use this platform as a pitching platform, right? Okay. If there's someone there out there, an investor, a partner, someone you want to collaborate with, it's your time to pitch your heart out. You never know. This is your camera here. You guys will take turn. You take the first turn. Say something if you want funding and all of that support that you need for a startup, and then we can wrap it up with Bwana CEO. It's your chance now.
So if you look at the low-code development market, it was valued at around 16 billion back in 2020, $16 billion, and it is expected by 2026 it will be valued at around 64 billion US dollars. So if you look at that market size, we still have a lot of room in the low-code development market, in a way that if we strategically position Dreamfield Spaces now in the market, by 2025, 2026, 3 years to come, 4 years to come from now, we'll be looking at some good turnovers. So basically, the problem we aim to solve in the industry is the problem of traditional development, which is expensive, time-consuming, and it requires extensive knowledge. And we aim to solve this problem by providing user-friendly and a cost-effective platform that allows users and businesses to create web application and software with little to no coding skills.
All right. Thank you very much there, Alex, for that brief description. Anything you want to add on that?
We are in an era that people are trying to automate and make things easier technically. So you know that the graveyard is the place that has most of the ideas. So don't die with your idea. You can use Dreamfield Spaces as a platform to come up with whatever solution you need.
All right, definitely. Thank you very much. Please be checking out Dreamfield Spaces. Already the website it's up. Also, you guys are saying that more development is expected to happen, but you can be checking it out and see what kind of services they're offering there. And if you want to partner with them, if you want to invest with them, I think they are a solid bunch, offering quite a very innovative and needed solution at this point in time. Biashara Tuesday is going for that the break again, and then I'll be right back with much more of business, more conversations, more of your feedback, and then what is happening on the dailies this morning. I have all the papers. You can get yours, and then we'll compare notes when I am back. Keep it tuned.
you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audiovisual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more, only on Law Matters.
Kurunzi ya kilimo huimarisha afya na uchumi endelevu katika jamii. Ni msingi mkubwa wa kipindi Boresha Kilimo. Kipindi hiki kinajikita katika teknolojia ya kisasa, utafiti na ushirikishaji wa wadau wa kilimo kuonyesha shughuli mbalimbali shambani. Kwa suluhu ya utoshelevu wa chakula, tazama Boresha Kilimo.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
The folks are going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pipopa si kukufuku. Pipopa ni idea.
Sazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vilevile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni duniani leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
What's up, fashionistas? Looking for a show that brings you the latest in the world of fashion, glamour, creativity, and style? Fashion Diaries got you started as we explore street fashion, modeling, runways, red carpet events, and so much more.
Catch me, Ashley at Sachi, as we unlock the greatest fashion events. Keep it locked.
Adventures across the African continent. See breathtaking
breathtaking wildlife, stunning landscapes, and out of this world technologies. Meet incredible scientists and learn fantastic facts. Explore, discover, be amazed. Be part of the next generation of African change makers. Be a part of ENGEN, Africa's #1 science discovery program. Yay!
We're learning every day. ENGEN leads the way.
Technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Technovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the 4th Industrial Revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
All right. Thank you for keeping it here. Still at KUTV Rise today, Biashara Tuesday is on air, and we've been receiving a couple of messages, and I want to give a shout out to Brian Odida, who was mentioned on air, but also has sent a message over on YouTube, sending positive vibes your way, team. They're following live from Chandaria Business Innovation and Incubation Center within Kenyatta University. So we are sending out our regards over to the team at Chandaria who's watching the show. Thank you for keeping it here. Remember, you can tag me on Twitter, you can tag the show on Twitter, you can send us your messages on WhatsApp and also SMS, and also leave one on YouTube, KUTV Kenya Live. We just had a conversation with guys from Dreamfield Spaces who are trying to provide an innovative way for businesses. They are revolutionizing the world of web application and web development by providing a low to no code development which is intuitive and user friendly and as well cost effective by the time they launch their MVP. They're now breaking down those barriers which have been there impeding growth for small businesses and individuals as well. So you can get yourself a website easily, way easier than it has been for you before. If you're a startup, an entrepreneur, an SME, and anyone really in various industries can be able to use Dreamfield Spaces to drive their economic and business growth by creating this and implementing some of the digital solutions without the need for extensive programming. It's never been easier, even now with the age of AI with us. Right now, just going to switch a bit to the news updates from KUTV from yesterday night to this morning. What are the developments like? And then that will inform me on what we have to discuss on the headlines this morning on the daily. So don't go far. The news updates, they're coming to you. All right, we begin with the public reaction on taxation. Now, there has been new taxes, and a section of Kenyans have aired their views on the Finance Bill 2023-2024, on the proposed 3% housing levy, which was tabled in Parliament 2 weeks ago by the National Treasury in a bid to help the government provide affordable houses for Kenyans. Kenyans say that they still have uncertainties and concerns whether the plan will work as expected. Here's Ruth Wanjiru with this report.
The House levy contribution debate has continued to hit the headlines since the National Treasury presented the finance bill in Parliament. The plan, which is aimed at supporting the government in building affordable housing in the country, has aroused different opinions from various stakeholders, some of which have strictly opposed the idea, terming it as overburdening. However, President William Ruto has defended what he calls a saving scheme, saying that the plan is expected to help Kenyans get affordable housing as well as provide jobs for the youth.
Ni jukumu letu ya kwamba tupange sisi tulio na ajira vile wale ambao hawana ajira pia na wao watapata ajira, watapata nafuu. And that is why it is our collective responsibility.
A section of Kenyans have also given their views on the House levy contribution, raising their concerns that just like the Bomayangu plan in the previous government, there are uncertainties whether the plan is going to benefit Kenyans. According to Patrick Nabo, a Huruma resident, the biggest challenge will be distribution of the houses.
Na ni mpango mzuri wa kuchangia. Shida ukuwa ni kwamba wale ambao wamechangia si lazima wapate. Wale upata kwanza ni wale ambao ukuwa wenye wako karibu na huyo mtu ama wale ambao wako karibu nao kabisa. Ukifuatilia sana labda unajulikana namna gani kwa hiyo kijiji ama unajulikana namna gani kwa hiyo mtaa.
Patrick further adds that the contribution should be voluntary and not imposed on the civil servants.
Kitu ambayo inakusaidia haifai kuwa kwa lazima. Inafaa kuwa kwa kujitolea na uone kuna manufaa gani kwako wewe mwenyewe. Ukiona inakusaidia unatoa. Ukiona ikusaidii uta decide vile unataka. But shida ukuwa ikishapitishwa kama sheria itakuwa ni must, upende usipende utachikatwa.
According to President Ruto, the House levy is not a tax but a patriotic contribution. Civil servants are to be deducted 3% of their salaries each month. The money is refundable after 7 years. The saving scheme will aid the government in creation of jobs and is considered a mortgage for hustlers.
As the House contribution levy continues to raise different debates in the country, a section of Kenyans have raised their concerns as to whether the plan will work to help all Kenyans. However, all attention now shifts to the National Assembly, whether they'll approve or disapprove the finance bill tabled by the National Treasury. Ruth Wanjiru for KUTV.
An announcement by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority (EPRA) indicated a rise in the price of kerosene by 15 shillings, super petrol by 3 shillings, and diesel by 6 shillings has left Kenyans wilding for a lack of better words. Motorists, boda riders and workers in the matatu sector have said that this increment will affect them directly and in turn lead to an increase in fare prices.
A section of Kenyans have raised their complaints today on the increase of fuel prices to 182.70, 168.40 and 161.13 for petrol, diesel and kerosene respectively by shilling 3.40, 6.40 and 15.19 respectively, following the announcement of Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority (EPRA). A section of Kenyans have said that the hike in fuel prices is too much for them to bear, especially during these harsh economic times. They say that increase in fuel prices has also led to increase in the prices of other commodities.
Penye mafuta imepanda na mafuta ndio inatumiwa sana sana kwa transport, kwa kila sekta, usafiri, kubeba mizigo. Kwa hivyo mafuta automatically ikipanda, kama ni upande wa uchukuzi, magari inatafuta njia ya kusaidika.
Directly to the consumer inatu affect kwa sababu lazima sai tupandishe fare na wananchi hawaelewi tunapandisha fare kwa nini. Unaona?
Sisi venye mafuta imeongezwa, siku ikiisha unapata umefanyia tu mafuta peke yake. Hakuna kitu kingine umefanya. So sisi tulikuwa tunaomba kama president venye alikuwa amesema, sisi ndio tulimpigia kura mahaslas, sisi ndio mahasla hapa, tulimweka hapo mahali huko.
afikirie sana, ajaribu abadilishe hiyo nia.
They have also called upon President Ruto to reconsider the VAT tax allocated for fuel prices to ease them the burden.
Kile ningeliomba rais ambaye ni mtu ambaye anaelewa mtu wa chini, hii kitu ya VAT kama inaweza badilishwa, hii ya mambo ya kuongeza kwa mafuta iangaliwe mahali wanaweza wakaifix.
However, President William Ruto, during a joint interview with the media, said that the 8% VAT will help to collect around 50 billion that will help to solve problems that Kenyans are facing, including building of roads.
With the increase in fuel prices, Kenyans are forced to dig deeper into their pockets in the harsh economic times as matatu sector forced to increase the fare prices for survival of their business. Salma Swaleh, KUTV, Nairobi.
Now, as Kenyans continue to feel the pinch of the high cost of living, a section of them are now putting blames on the government for what they say is a failure to fulfill promises that it made to its people. And this specifically points out to the price of gas, which unfortunately will not be subsidized this June, as had been promised by President William Ruto. That, according to the president, will only be actualized when the Finance Bill 2023, which seeks to drop taxes on cooking gas, is passed.
Kenyans have lamented about the promise made by President William Ruto to lower gas prices from the current price, which has exceeded 1,000 shillings, to a range between 300 and 500 shillings as of June. A section of Kenyans have shared their discontent following the hike in petroleum products, leading to failure to lower gas prices as mentioned earlier by the head of state. At the same time, they have cited the act as unfair to them since the promise has not been fulfilled.
Akitaka kutuambia kitu, sisi anatuambia ukweli wake, ya ukweli kabisa, asitupitishie hii ama hii. Atuambie unga itaanguka ama itaanguka, gasa itaanguka ama itaanguka. Si apite hapa baadaye akuja atuambie nilikuwa nasema hivyo. Hiyo na sisi wananchi hatufurahi.
Hotel business owners who have also been affected say that they are forced to sell their food at normal prices to satisfy Kenyans of all social classes, and that the high gas prices have made them incur losses.
Food tunaeka tu ile price yenye ni low, unaona, so gas ni expensive, so tukika hiyo price low bado hizi tosha kumaintain kulipa gas na kutafuta hizo vitu zote.
Hotel workers now call upon the government to make realistic and achievable promises to the citizens.
Bado tu amegeuka hiyo Kenya alikuwa amesema, that means si fair kwa Wakenya. Kama ingekuwa ku reduce, at least aseme it will be reduced by maybe 100 shillings, something that's possible. But 500 from 1500 ama 1500 could reduce 1000, that's impossible.
The high gas prices have elicited reactions from the public, where a majority of them have called out the government for postponing its promise of reducing the price of gas.
High gas prices continue to affect Kenyans, especially during the tough economic times. Kenyans are now urging President William Ruto to come to their aid by fulfilling his promise. Celestine Wendia, KUTV, Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Celestine, for that report. Down the ranks, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua yesterday hosted Colombian Vice President Francia Marquez at the DP's official residence in Karen. The two leaders deliberated on ways to improve Kenya's coffee subsector, which the country is looking to tap into the knowledge that Colombia has about coffee production. They also intend to work on ways to boost trade relations between the two countries, including the introduction of direct chartered flights from Kenya to Colombia. Listen in.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has today hosted Colombia Vice President Francia Marquez Mena and her delegations at his residence in Karen, Nairobi. The two leaders are set to explore various ways to strengthen the relations enjoyed by the two nations. The Vice President arrived in the country on Sunday evening for a 3-day state visit. Gachagua noted that the country will enhance cooperation with Colombia in various fields including trade, education, healthcare, and that the government is ready to increase a two-way trade and investment cooperation between the two countries.
Kenya wishes to enhance cooperation
with Colombia in a number of fields, such as training in Spanish, education scholarships, healthcare, culture, knowledge sharing, South-South cooperation, and engagements in the multilateral arena.
The two leaders have also overseen the signing of two memoranda of understanding that will enhance the working cooperation between Kenya and Colombia and also enhance gender equality and women empowerment.
We wish to take note of the ongoing technical meetings which have concluded review for two memorandum of understanding which we have signed today. These are the MOU on the Joint Commission of Cooperation and the MOU on gender equality and women empowerment.
DP Gachagua has highlighted provision of technical support in health and the use of bamboo as an affordable housing material, which will go a long way in aiding the government achieve its plan of the social housing program and the affordable housing program.
Your government's assistance through provision of technical support in health, the use of bamboo as an affordable housing material, cooperation in technical, vocational and education training, culture, and most importantly, technical cooperation in the coffee sector will go a long way in enabling Kenya attain her development institutions.
The second in command has also pointed out that Kenya is looking to tap into the knowledge on coffee production and exportation as it is being a major player in the sector. The two have also deliberated on ways to boost trade relations between the two countries.
To discuss matters coffee and to learn the beautiful experiences of the Colombian coffee farmer and be able to come and practice it here in Kenya.
The talks between Gachagua and Francia have centered on boosting trade and investment for transformation of the economies of both countries and cultural exchanges. Dorothy Musyoka, KUTV.
All right, thank you, Dorothy. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki yesterday announced a resolution to opening of the Kenya-Somali border after holding a bilateral meeting with the delegates from Somalia to discuss on border security management and to deliberate on a roadmap for reopening the 3 cross-border points between the two countries.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki has today made an announcement outlining the timeline for the phased reopening of the Kenya-Somalia borders after meeting with the delegates from Somalia. Kindiki has today noted that the Kenya-Somalia border will be reopened in a phased-out manner within the Boni in Lamu County. Kindiki says that the Mandera border point will be the first to be opened in the next 30 days. The second border point will be Liboi on the Somali side, followed by Kiunga Kamboni in Lamu County.
The border between Kenya and Somalia will be reopened in a phased-out manner within the next 90 days, effective today, starting with the Mandera-Bulahawa border point, which should be open in the next 30 days.
He has also affirmed that the government of Kenya will continue to engage with the federal government of Somalia to develop and implement joint approaches and strategies cutting across social, economic, and security issues.
I affirm that the government of Kenya will continue to engage with the federal government of Somalia to develop and implement joint approaches and strategies cutting across socio-economic and security issues in order to stabilize our respective countries.
Somalia Minister of Internal Security Mohamed Sheikh expressed Somalia's commitment to promoting and strengthening cooperation with the neighboring countries to enhance security.
The federal government of Somalia is committed to promote and strengthen cooperation with its neighbors to improve security, regulate migration frameworks, facilitate trade and investment.
The first reopening of the Kenya-Somalia border marks a positive step in enhancing regional stability and economic prosperity. This bilateral agreement signifies the determination of Kenya and Somalia to overcome challenges together and strengthen their relations. Beryl Rotich, KUTV.
Elsewhere, the High Court in Mombasa yesterday dismissed an application by controversial pastor Ezekiel Odero seeking to unfreeze his over 15 bank accounts which were frozen by the government in connection to the ongoing investigations on cult-related deaths in Shakahola Forest. The High Court Judge Olga Sewe ruled that the preacher's bank accounts remain frozen as per orders which were issued at Milimani Magistrates Court in Nairobi on May 8th. Ezekiel is also seeking to have his television channel, World Evangelism TV, restored.
Pastor Ezekiel Odero has today faced a blow after Mombasa High Court dismissed his application to unfreeze 15 bank accounts and allow his television station back on air. Ezekiel moved to court on May 3rd, seeking conservatory orders to prevent the government from freezing his personal and church bank accounts. However, the High Court Judge Olga Sewe said that her court has no jurisdiction to handle the case and that the application was entirely misconceived. Judge Sewe refrained from commenting on the correctness and legality of the orders issued by the Magistrate Court in Nairobi last week. The court has also declined an application seeking to have Odero's TV license back, stating that the petitioners ought to have exhausted all legal channels with the Communication Authority before coming to court. While addressing the questions on Shakahola during an interview yesterday, President William Ruto apologized to Kenyans over Shakahola massacre, saying that the government is to blame for how far cult leader Paul Mackenzie was allowed to go on with his activities. Ruto said that the Commission of Inquiry formed will get to the bottom of the matter and those found responsible will be apprehended. Patrick Oduor, KUTV.
In a little bit of sports, President William Ruto has said that Kenya will partner with Uganda and Tanzania to organize the championship for Africa Championship Cup, AFCON. President Ruto said that he has talked with his colleagues from those countries to ensure that the championships are organized in the East Africa region come 2027. The president has also asked the Ministry of Sports to consider this as a way of receiving income.
I am happy to announce today that we have joined our brothers and sisters in Uganda and Tanzania in mounting a joint bid to the Confederation of African Football for the opportunity to host the 2027 edition of Africa Cup of Nations, commonly known as AFCON, making sure that we also interrogate the training program and also ensure that there is adequate attention to making sure that we commercialize this sector so that it becomes not only an employer, but also an income generator.
All right, that's what we have for you this morning in terms of the news updates. Much more will be happening later. Follow KUTV's broadcasting, primetime news, and Mizizi ya Habari, which comes at 6:30 p.m. and at 9 p.m. for that English broadcast of the primetime news. But now we're going to switch back to politics, business, and technology here on Biashara Tuesday. I have Eric Mashare with me. He'll be joining me in a short while to look at what is happening on these headlines at the Standard, the Business Daily, and the Daily Nation. If you have any other, please inform us what the headline is looking like there. Much of what we are going to discuss today is the finance bill for 2023, Ruto's tax plan, and also a new scandal which has brewed over at KEMSA. It's biting back and people have lost jobs, but others are also getting jobs. There's a new CBK governor who's supposed to be approved by Parliament, the 10th governor. We're going to also have a look at his history from being a suspect in the Kimwaror Dam scandal to being a state witness to now the CBK governor. How will that work out? Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Beautiful morning on Biashara Tuesday, and in Kenya at large. Keep sending in your feedback. Let's get to hear where you guys are tuning in from, and also what you think about the conversations which have been happening here. I have Eric Biashara with me, as you can see on your screens, and we are armed to teeth with the headlines of this morning. The Standard says, on tax, Ruto is between a rock and a hard place. That's the headline on the Standard. On tax, Ruto is between a rock and a hard place. President was hard-pressed to explain the new levies he wants to introduce when the cost of living is currently at an all-time high. Experts are now wondering what is the economic rationale of the proposed taxation measures. I'm going to go through them and see what are the proposed taxation measures. I have the percentages with me. I have the responses from President William Ruto when he was speaking to media fraternity over the weekend, answering some of the questions pertinent to Kenyans at the moment. Daily Nation, on the headline there, mosquito nets deal bites PS and KEMSA bosses. A 4 billion shilling global fund tender for the supply of 10 million mosquito nets to help poor Kenyans fight malaria has led to a bloodbath at both KEMSA and the Health Ministry after President William Ruto sent the Permanent Secretary of the Health Ministry and also the CEO of KEMSA, who is now suspended. That is Teddy Ramadhani, the KEMSA CEO, is suspended, and Dr. Josephine Mburu sacked as PS of Public Health, and 9 other officials who've now been sacked or dismissed or suspended as regards to this mosquito scandal. The Business Daily, let me just borrow it from Eric here real quick, says, gentleman muddied by dam scandal set for CBK. That's the Business Daily. Gentleman muddied by the dam scandal set for CBK. So Thuge, who was previously the PS for the Treasury Ministry, is now poised to become the 10th governor of the Central Bank of Kenya. But before that, he was a key suspect of the Kimorer and Arol Dam scandal, turned to a state witness, turned to an economic advisor by President William Ruto, and now turned possibly to be the 10th governor of the Central Bank of Kenya. 2 things that he has to address: inflation and the depreciating currency, which are very top of priority at the moment as the nation. Before we get much more into it, let me just welcome Eric Biashara back to the show. Karibu sana.
Shukran sana.
Karibu tena mzee.
I'm very glad to be back.
Glad to have you again.
Yeah, it's always nice to come back. I always feel like there's always something new every time I come back on.
Yeah,
so, which
there's
is
something new in studio, something new with the audience, also something new with the discussions as well. Glad to have you back here as you're part of us now. Team member, Rise Today,
resident analyst now.
All right. How are things? Any updates unataka kutupiga maybe before we get into what is happening with the nation?
Maybe I will plug in at the end, but towards the nation, I think just like everybody else, we've been feeling a bit of the brunt of the struggling economy. It's a global issue. We were warned in 2020 that come 2022, 2023, we might be heading into a global recession. I thought it was discussed that it will probably be maybe not as impactful as it has been, but what do we say about it? Just go through it.
It is what it is. That's what we find ourselves in. And now let's see what the headlines have to say about the situation and also much more of what is developing. I like the headline on the Daily Nation. I don't know if it's the same case for you, but mostly because of the wordplay. Mosquito nets deal bites PS. Mosquitoes and biting. And I think that was well worked out. However, I think in terms of prioritizing the conversation with Ruto on taxation, the Standard got it right. So in terms of relevance, I feel the Standard won it, but in terms of the I will say a great headline. If I was marking this as a composition, this Daily Nation kid will get 30 out of 40. We were Standard, maybe 25, 27 apple.
The guys from Nation seem to be very creative with their titles.
I like it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. However, I think just like you said, the conversation right now in the country is really based on the new tax regime as proposed by the presidency and the new and the incumbent Kenya Kwanza government.
Right.
And also, this comes just little on. In fact, I think it's just yesterday night that we have EPRA, the Energy and Petroleum Regulations Authority, just basically just gave a little bit more of a pinch to citizens by raising the prices of kerosene, basically raising the price of energy in the country. So between that and the tax conversation that is going on in the country, I think there's a conversation to be had on this.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we get to EPRA, which has reviewed those prices of kerosene by 15 shillings a litre, and now it's going for 161. In short, the subsidy on diesel and kerosene has finally been lifted after the one on petrol was dropped earlier, and then there are more propositions which are there in the finance bill of 2023, and that is also going to adjust these prices upwards. We're going to get into that in a while. Let's start with the headline that we've selected as the winning headline. And the Standard says Ruto is between a rock and a hard place. Hard pressing questions posed there by journalists over the weekend, criticism which has been there around taxation and a failure to understand the reality of the situation. The president is, however, defending this. He has an economic rationale around it, saying this is the only way we can be moving forward to be like the countries that we are looking up to. If you want to be like Europe, you want to be like the Americas, if you want to be like developed countries, we need to pay more taxes. That's what the president is saying, and is heavily defending this, saying that currently we are at 14% of tax, and is hoping that he can increase this slowly, and by maybe the end of next year we have 18% and some bit more of that into the future. I don't know if, according to you, Eric, you feel like this economic rationale is logical, or does it make economic sense?
From my perspective, I don't think it is just wise to follow what the others are doing, especially on this matter. Instead of, in my opinion, I would have rather the president would have focused on widening the tax base, have a lot more people paying taxes than rather have the same people paying a lot more taxes. That way you're able to surge a bit of economic growth in the country. You would find that right now, the president, the government is plans to borrow even more within the domestic market. So I'm really curious how he expects to tax people more and at the same time borrow from them. So what exactly is left for the economy to grow? What is left for, let's say, credit? And this is what happens, and you will find that especially credit facilities such as banking institutions will now probably want to work with government a lot more than it will want to work with their own customers. This will lead to probably lower, basically there will be shortage of cash in the economy. This means fewer businesses are going to be opening up, scaling is probably going to be quite an issue. So I'm not really for it, to be quite honest. I would rather they looked elsewhere. And the most curious thing about this is very, it is almost similar to what happened in the early 90s, late 80s with President, the late Daniel Moi, when he welcomed the IMF and the World Bank, which seemingly seemed to set fiscal and monetary policy and economic decisions for the country, which led to a privatization of a lot of institutions. And we are finding similarities in what is going on right now. So maybe this is something similar. It could be that the president is under pressure from these lending institutions such as the World Bank and the IMF, which I really think is predatory. So it's like the title. I'm not really confident. It's really like the headline says, he's in between a rock and a hard place. He's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
Right, he says if we do not pay taxes, we cannot be like the countries we want to be. If we want to be in their shoes, we can't be going backwards. And he has one question to ask. It's not whether we are being taxed, are we being overtaxed? That is a question we need to ask, said President William Ruto. He says that Kenya is at 14%, meaning we are paying half in terms of tax of what our peers in the continent are. And hopefully, by God's grace, that's his own words, by God's grace, maybe next year we'll be at 18%. are we undertaxed? You were telling me earlier that we are among the countries which pay the most tax in the region.
Yeah, we are one of the countries, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, even Africa just as a whole. Kenya is one of the countries that pays the most in taxes. Remember, not just because we have something like income tax, maybe it might be lower than in some other countries, but remember how many countries have this thing we call VAT? It's not that many countries that have that. So if you put our rate, whatever he says, if it's 14%, yeah, and you have a 16% value addition tax, yeah, so you're paying tax on every single item you buy in this country.
Right.
And at the same time, you're paying 14% from your own income. So it's not really.
It's not really undertaxed. We're not really undertaxed.
We're not really undertaxed. And again, you also have to take the population into account. I think you just mentioned that the president was comparing us to South Africa.
Yeah.
South Africa has a population of over 100 million. We are half that. So you have a population of close to 50 million paying 14%, and in taxes you want to increase that to 18 to compare it to an economy that is paying has a population of close to 100 million and very, very well endowed with natural resources, which unfortunately for us, Kenya really don't have the gold, the diamond, the uranium or anything what South Africa has.
It's an unfair comparison.
Yeah, it's pretty unfair. All we have is human resource, and I think that is Kenya's greatest resource.
Right.
Yeah.
Defending his new tax strategy, that is President William Ruto. But just to mention, let me hear your reaction for a few of these. Among them, the biggest controversial proposition being the 3% amount to be deducted from salaries going to housing fund. According to President William Ruto, this is a patriotic contribution. And I don't know if there is a conversation on what if I don't want to be as patriotic, you know? And, you know, in his response, maybe possibly to a question like that, President William Ruto says, you're contributing this for your own good, 3% to help people who are in low-cost areas like Kibra and in the slum regions to get affordable housing. But eventually, if you don't want it, you get your money back with interest.
To be honest,
3%.
To be honest, and I know this might probably be an unfair, an unpopular opinion, but I think he was right about going around it this way. One of the things, and I think which the former president did was, which actually helped the economy, was to really invest in infrastructure, especially during COVID. It was similar to what the United States called the Marshall Plan with FDR, their president. Yeah? So really going into construction might actually help, because that way you may be able, you can spur a few industries. Yeah? This is cement, steel. You have labor, cash is probably being distributed, and the people who this money is being gotten from is people who actually have how do you say, have security of tenure and have security of income. And again, it's kind of a loan. It's a forced loan. It seems like it's a forced loan to the government, but again, it's still a loan. So I mean, the civil servants could cry about a bit. I'm really glad it was not, the private sector was not really forced to have this contribution in, because I think that then it would have not probably the best consequences.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good idea. Implementation is now, well, implementation is usually the biggest headache.
Right.
Because if it is wrongly implemented, then you'll have, as it is right now, it's going to be a huge cash cow. How this cash is spent is now it has the potential to re-energize the economy. But at the same time, if they do what I'm seeing they're doing at KEMSA, this will end up biting a lot more than, or basically burying us into a deeper hole than we are in currently.
Right, because that KEMSA scandal is 4 billion shillings, and according to the figures here on the standard, 50 billion is going to be the additional revenue increase in VAT on petroleum products that this is 50 billion that the government will generate effectively. So unless this money is handled well, we might find ourselves slipping back to that issue that we are going to get to on the front of the Daily Nation. An argument from some of those economists and analysts who are poking holes on this Ruto's new tax proposal, saying that we might be scaring away the investors.
I think we
given
started doing that a long time ago.
Our tax regime is unstable and something that cannot be predicted. And you're saying that that's already something that's done.
Yeah, that we started doing that. I think from late last year. And I think this is something probably this new regime needs to get. When you are at the level of the presidency, you can't just go outside making public declarations or market declarations. Your words have consequences, and I think this started last year when they started off with this whole tax issue, and they also started talking about and this I'll probably want to quote. I wouldn't want to quote him exactly on his words, but the deputy president, once he starts saying that the economy is dilapidated, the country was sliding into bankruptcy, what does that do to investor confidence in the country? Yeah, it basically ruins confidence. And then following that up with some really controversial tax policies, that don't seem to really they're not really engineered to spur growth, in as much as I think they are engineered to how do you put it, to please the IMF, to actually put it blankly.
Right.
So I think it's something that was already been done, and the government really needs to do maybe a little bit more PR and see how they might get investor confidence back in. And to be quite honest, there would have been no need for this housing levy if investors were confident in us. I can give you an example. Kenya has one of the most attractive real estate markets on the continent. We have the most expensive real estate on the continent. I think it's Upper Hill. On the continent, and we have so many experts coming in from Europe and other regions of the world who are coming in to invest here. So this is money. If the government will be focused on expanding our base on on foreign direct investments, there will be no need for this levy. But if you keep scaring investors away, and you need to develop your country, this money has to come from somewhere. And because now it's not coming from investors, foreign investors, it's going to come from the citizenry. Yeah.
All right. One of those things that the government is going to look at to try and address this is the new appointment. I think we can just sneak it in there. According to the State House communication, already they want CBK or the next governor for CBK to be Kamau Thuge. He's a former PS for the Treasury Department, was there in the scandal that I already mentioned, the Kimorel, Arrow and Kimorel dams, which are likely to haunt him, by the way, but also the issuance of the country's first Eurobond, whose paper trail the Treasury did not explain well to the public. So he was there as PS, and he's been involved in heavily in trying to plan the Treasury and the direction the nation is to take. So he's well seasoned in terms of the docket, but also there's that very key issue of integrity. I don't know if you're confident with this guy in case he gets approved.
The best I can say right now, especially with the with the appointments made by this government, is that we hope for the best. As a patriotic Kenyan, you cannot really pray or hope that they mess up, because that will end up affecting you. So I just pray that he is competent. Should he get appointed, that he will end up being competent, and probably he has big shoes to fill. Yeah. You have Dr. Njoroge, who was the former. It's not former. He's still current.
He's out
still
next month.
Yeah. Governor, and he has big shoes to fill. I remember Dr. Njoroge took us from what was called third world, and now we are into Kenya is ranked as a lower middle income economy. So will he take us further into middle income economy status, or will he sink us back to where we were? So
yeah, and at the moment the Treasury is going to be run by I'll call them former old boys of the Central Bank of Kenya, given that the ministry is led by Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, who was previously CBK governor before Dr. Patrick Njoroge, and now Dr. Thuge, formerly PS at the Treasury, going to be, if he gets approved, of course, by the Parliament, to become CBK governor. I just realized you've skirted around the scandal story. You don't want to mention anything about integrity?
See, I don't, see, if the courts didn't pronounce anything, it's hard to say. I'm really trying to avoid any sort of mention.
You want to be misquoted.
Yeah, I don't want any case of libel against me. With this economy, I can't afford the kind of lawyers that he can.
Okay, let's go to the people who actually did lawyers now, and the ones we can mention rightfully on a corruption scandal. Mosquito nets deal bites PS. KEMSA bosses. President William Ruto has already fired someone he had appointed, some of whom he had appointed, and this is over impropriety at the KEMSA. Could we do away with the whole, if the tree is rotten, you just cut it down, right? Because KEMSA, from COVID-19 scandal, COVID billionaires, we know it was all centered around KEMSA, and now we have this mosquito nets deal, and trust me, I am sure there's more because of other things that KEMSA is responsible of doing supplies for. This is something that was in the knowledge of the PS, Public Health, and also the KEMSA CEO, Terry Ramadhani, and a host of other officials over at that ministry. Our priorities seem not to be in the right place, and I have a question for you. Who's shocked anyway?
Nobody, to be quite frank. KEMSA has really, for an organization that is not supposed to be making money and providing quality service, it has made people quite a bit of money actually. Unfortunately, it's just a few individuals and at the detriment of the rest of society.
Right.
If you look at this latest scandal, and this was bound to happen. If there were the chairman and the CEO on a media station last week, and you could hear based on how they were speaking. And when you have a donor so frustrated with you that he actually suspends the grant given to you, this is a loss to every Kenyan, because this is not money that we are taking in as a loan.
Right.
This is not our own money. This is not these nets are not to be bought by government taxes. They are not to be bought through a loan with which you will end up. This is a grant from a donor.
Right.
So if you end up mismanaging it to a point where the donor says no, I cannot work with you anymore. Let's just cancel this and see how we can start to put it. That does a lot.
We're scaring investors in so many ways.
Yeah.
Mishandling funds, a very very unstable tax regime, and so many other ways in which we're going to cut ourselves off from an influx of currency.
I think the government really needs to do something, especially to restore confidence in itself. Because this isn't really quite a good thing. And also on the whole KEMSA issue, just to be fair, this is not something that has come in with this regime. It was there with the previous regime as well. So I think probably there could be, if this is something that is able to transcend regimes, probably this is something in law. Maybe how KEMSA is structured, we need to relook how KEMSA is structured. Because maybe get a new board. Because the last board and the new board, nothing really has changed with KEMSA. And again, it will be nice if all this would, maybe not nice, if I could find a better term I would use it, but for the sake, it would be maybe more convenient for them if such things were going on, and at the same time we would have our county hospitals full of medicine and supplies. But you find it's quite the contrary. So you have donors bringing in money, you have tenders going in to the tunes of billions, and then you have empty county hospitals, no drugs.
And there are very real consequences I want to point you to. On page 12 of the Standard here, in an earlier interview, Dr. Donald Apat, the program manager for Global Fund Malaria at AMREF, was there saying they've recorded several incidents. 9 people have died in Marsabit, and guess what they died of?
Malaria.
Yeah, it's malaria. So the Kemri has now dispatched a team to Marsabit to collect samples after 9 people died. People who should be getting some of these mosquito nets that are supposed to come from KEMSA. And it makes me feel, Eric, it makes me feel like sometimes maybe we are focusing so much on the corruption that's happening on the executive, and we forget that probably the biggest scandals in terms of corruption and fraud and embezzlement are happening within these bodies that are not running the government's day-to-day operations?
I think the state agencies and parastatals are probably the actual den of corruption, because even government, we look at national corruption at a national scale, but where does it filter through so that this can happen? It filters through such institutions. If you remember the previous one, where I think the current chair of governors, Dr. Anwe Guru, was in the what was her ministry called? Devolution.
Devolution, yeah.
Yeah, in the Ministry of Devolution, that whole scandal went through
NYS.
the NYS.
Yeah.
So you have another one going through probably EPRA. You have another one going through what is this? The silos. The people from the silos. The people handling our grains.
All right. I can't.
What are my
Yes.
So
through those institutions.
Yeah. So they have to go through these institutions. It's not just like a ministry. You will have an employee, let's say at the Ministry of Trade, or let's look at one of these lucrative ministries, Ministry of Energy, going to company accounts and taking out, let's say, 5 billion shillings. No, it has to be routed through somewhere, and the direct route is through these agencies.
Right.
And the sad thing is that these titles are so glossy. They're really juicy. You see figures being thrown around: 5 billion, 2 billion, 12 billion, but the consequences at the end of the day are much sadder, because they are usually people dying, like you said in Marsabit, you have 9 people who've lost their lives. More, and these are just the people who are reported. Now, for instance, the mosquito nets are usually very key for women, especially when they've just given birth, and especially during the pregnancy period. This is when they are most prone to malaria. So how many of these women will have to suffer the consequences of the incompetence of?
Right, it's going to be a population of people who are going to get about 10 million mosquito nets. So it's probably numbering in the hundreds of thousands of those affected because they did not receive this. You can get to read more on page 7, but maybe just to read those suspended as a way to shame them in case they are culpable. So suspended here is Ms. Terry Ramadhani, the KEMSA Chief Executive Officer. Also sacked is Dr. Josephine Buru as the PS Public Health and Professional Standards. Dismissed is Mr. Daniel Rono, former KO South MP, sacked as the KEMSA Chairman. And appointed now is Mutava Mulwa, named the Acting Chief Executive of KEMSA. And appointed again Mr. Irungu Nyakera, named the Chairperson of the reconstituted KEMSA Board. That's as much you can read on the mosquito nets, KEMSA scandal, on taxation, and more of pain for the hustlers as the kerosene diesel prices jump. I just have one more before maybe you can give me one more of the stories. I see here we are at 9:50 in the morning. Congratulations to the University of Nairobi, which is now the only Kenyan university that has been listed among the world's top 2,000 universities in the latest rankings released yesterday by the Center for World University Rankings. This is there at the back page of the Daily Nation, and the total number of universities that were ranked around the world are 20,531. So being in the top 2,000 is not an easy feat, considering they're actually ranked at position 1,425. And this is out of 20,531 universities. This is commendable job. For the 12th year in a row, Harvard is the world's top university. So if you want to go to the top university, find Harvard and then tell us how that went. But if you're in Africa, if you're in East Africa, go to UON or also to Kenyatta University, which could not be ranked because it is so good. They couldn't find enough time to do all that work.
Maybe I would probably say something, just a small mention about this. As a proud alumni of the University of Nairobi, I'm really happy to see this, and probably wish the administration that is currently there continues to invest in making it towards exemplar scholarly excellence.
Okay, yeah, that's for sure. Let's do something, Eric, to break this monotony. Take this. We're going to play a game, and if you're at home, you can also do it. We played one earlier. I thrashed the guys who are here, my friend. And I know we've played this with you before, right?
Yeah.
And I think I won all of them. So
we'll see.
Kama leo kuna bahati. Na usinikopi jo. Let's go. We go. The first question, if you're at home, you can also answer and tell us if you got it correct. Which is Kenya's top gas station with the best performance at the moment? All right. 3 seconds. Come on, give nasema pass. Which East African country is the largest producer of coffee?
East Africa, yeah?
Yep. Which East African country has the largest economy? Aye, si Burundi too. All right. Which East African country is known for its production of high-quality vanilla? What? Vanilla?
I don't know.
Vanilla is produced. All right. Who is the Apple founder? See Adam and Eve.
What is this guy called?
All right. Who is the Microsoft CEO? Oh my God.
Now.
What company or individual owns WhatsApp? All right. Is that it? All right, let's mark them.
I hope I got some of them right. Huh?
All right, let's go. Gas company. What was the first question? It was which is Kenya's top gas station with the best performance at the moment. Ameandika Progress na niliandika Rubies. It's Total. All right, it's Total.
It's Total.
Yeah,
the French.
Yeah. Apparently that's it. So Total. Second question, which East African Which East African country is the largest producer of coffee? Kenya?
Yeah.
Kenya, right? It's Ethiopia.
Ethiopia is not in East Africa.
It is.
Oops. Is it?
All right, that's gone. It's Ethiopia. My producers are saying Ethiopia, so you have to go with Ethiopia. Which East African country has the largest economy? 254, right? Let's go. Which East African country is known for its production of high-quality vanilla? I wrote TZ, he wrote TZ. It is TZ, I guessed. I'm very good at guessing. I didn't know. It's TZ Zanzibar. Okay. Who is the Apple founder? That has to be Steve Jobs. So we both got it. Who is the Microsoft CEO? Is not Larry Page. Larry Page is for Google.
Larry Page? No.
Larry Page is former founder Google. And former CEO, I guess.
Is Lavender not the one at
Microsoft? What's the name?
He's a fat guy.
Satya Nadella, yeah? I tried to get the correction, the pronunciation, but I got it. Okay. And then the last question, company or individual which owns WhatsApp? It's Meta or Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. This guy has 4.
Beat me by 1.
What do I have?
5. Beat me by 1.
5. I beat you by 1. Yeah. 5 out of 7, right? 4 out of 7. A win is a win, bro. Thank you very much, Eric. I'm really glad that you could find time for us this morning. And because it's 9:56 in the morning, let me just quickly read feedback. Alafu we close the show together without going for a break. I see here Emperor Shaker on Twitter. Mesema first is Ojong Mariam saying Richard Okenye, ask Huyu, political analyst, how come wamenyang'anywa chama? Kwani
on the 22nd, on the 22nd, which is this Monday, we have on the 22nd, which is this Monday, we have a national delegates conference at the Bomas of Kenya, set to begin at 10 a.m.
Wale watu wanadhani chama ni hao watatupata huko. So that's for NARC Kenya.
No,
Jubilee.
Jubilee.
Just wanted to see that kind of reaction. Nilikuwa niseme UDA lakini nilijua hiyo ingeleta shida kidogo. All right, so for Jubilee there's going to be that conference. Utatuambia zaidi after. Nini nimefanyika? What is the
somebody wants to come into the party through the back door, but there was a meeting. We had a meeting with all the regional chairmen, and I think we expect a pronouncement on the 22nd. The beauty of it is that the party leader will be there.
Okay.
So whoever is disgruntled has the platform and
come and address
the time to give the opinion, basically.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eric. I think time is not on our side. Shout out to all the guys who have been tuning in the show. Emperor Sheikha, Ojong, Mariam, and the rest who I couldn't get to. It's too late for me to go through it, but we can interact during the week on my social handles at Richard_Okenye. KUTV Rise Today comes to you next week on Monday with Karen Blessing in the morning. Alafu mintarudi hapa on Biashara Tuesday. If you want to have breakfast in bed, sleep in the kitchen. See ya.